Yeah, cool. That's a good enough
Okay.
time frame.
Huh?
Because I definitely got a client at 3 o'clock, so that's perfect.
Okay. So we'll be good then, because you'll
Yeah.
be reminding me of time. Okay, so introduce yourself to the people.
Okay. So my name is Mizz Lizz, the stylist. I'm located in Pflugerville. I'm still not taking new clients yet, so don't come looking for me just yet. But I've been in the business a very long time, and I mean that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm from Austin. Austin born and raised. So, well, I did go to high school in Round Rock. So I went to school in Round Rock, but I was born in Austin. So, one of the it's rare to find an Austinite these days, I guess. So I'm one of those for sure.
In Austin, it is for sure. In
Yeah.
Austin. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about hair
Okay.
and your spiritual walk. So doing hair obviously is it's like a service-based industry. And so
Absolutely.
there's an energetic exchange that happens.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's different when you're energetically aware, right?
Yeah.
Like it shows up differently. So talk a little bit about that and like how things may have changed for you from when you started doing hair to now.
So one thing I definitely noticed now, after being on a spiritual journey and, tapping into our gifts, our talents, I can pick up on energy a lot better, so I have the tendency to be able to tell, if my clients are going through something, if they have stuff going on, and I'm more empathetic than I am, judgmental, per se. So I know at one point, it was actually my cousin, she's my client as well. And, she'd been going through something in her family with her husband. His mother was sick or something, and like her hair fell out. Well, that's what happens with stress. So she came to me and I ended up cutting it off, when I cut it off, she was like, I just thank you for not fussing at me. And I'm like, hey, life happens for all of us. You know what I'm saying? So my job is to grow hair. That's what happens. It fall out, I'm gonna grow it back. That's a process and a cycle that I've seen, especially, having clients for a long period of time. People go through different phases in life. And sometimes those phases show up in your hair. You know what I mean? I've had somebody come, they sit down, I say, okay, so you've been stressed? Like I can see it without even having, and it's especially in Black women, it only happens in certain spots, right? It's that the back of the head is like the number one culprit. So if they come in and they got all this hair in the front and then that back is short and what we call it look like it's ate up, you've been stressed out, what's going on in life, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I can kind of pick that up. There were times where when I had more and kept them on me, on my person, I've gifted crystals to clients for certain situations, certain instances. You have a client who said something about she had the blood the patch on the arm to check her insulin, I believe that's for. Yes. So I give her a crystal in regards to blood sugar and diabetes. You know what I'm saying? And so I've done that as well. So it kind of takes me into more of a holistic direction, and so my clientele is with it. You know what I mean? Like we talk about crystals, we talk about, so it's like I'm had a tendency to gravitate those type of clients. So we all kind of vibe on the same wave, and I definitely have clients that are definitely still into the church and, and I respect that as well. My family's in the church. I was raised in the church too. So, it's never even an uncomfortable, awkward conversation with that either. But then, I can go all the way across the board. And so, the biggest compliment I've gotten is that, I'm pretty, I'm non-judgmental and I try to just, accept people for who they are and wherever they are in life. You know what I mean? I don't, if that's what you're going to do, okay, let's do that. If that's not, then let's not do that. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll support them wherever they are. So yeah, but it helps me be a little more in tune with them. And especially when you, like you said, hair is you're touching somebody's hair and hair holds energy as well. And so
Right.
the exchange got to be positive for both of us. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get in somebody's hair and they're emitting negative energy, nor do I want to give negative energy to them. You know what I mean? And so luckily it's been years since I've dealt with negative energy in my chair. Like I just haven't, I'm just in a place where like the people who come to me, we just already flow, you know what I mean? So it works out well for me.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
that. And that's true. That's true. I can see it. I can see it in your practice and like
Yeah.
just the way that you advertise yourself and everything. So um she's not taking new clients right now, but if you ask anybody who's been in Austin long enough, they probably have either seen her do hair, know somebody who's she's their stylist, or she's done their actual hair. So it's been a long time, but she's been not new to this, but true to this.
Listen.
Um, okay, let's talk a little bit about how your spiritual journey started. And not necessarily from a metaphysical perspective,
Mhm.
but just in terms of you building your connection with your higher self and building your personal relationship with God.
So for me, like I said, I come from a church background, but I always questioned some of the teachings. You know what I mean? And it was hard for me to not even understand, but accept the words of the Bible to be literal, right? They always seemed figurative to me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's still a book. You know what I mean? And so like, I mean, my grandfather, pastor, my cousins, like they all are deep, 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 and I was really the only one who questioned it, like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, So I've never been baptized. That's the first thing. And my daughter coming, so you have to edit a little bit. Sorry. Okay, give it to me. So I've had to, I'm questioning it, but I found out as an adult, my mother did too. So I'm my mother's child. So the first thing was my fault. Like I said, my grandfather was a pastor. My mother didn't get baptized, so she was in her 50s. I don't know how she pulled that off, but she pulled that off. So close the door too, David. So so go back with your brother then. Go.
It's
Just a moment.
okay.
She acting like she can't open the door, like 3 years old. Oh my God. Just give me just one moment. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, pick on the floor. Stop doing all of that. Here, come on. Go ahead. Go back with brother. Okay, you okay. You don't need this one. Okay, then. All right. Another thing. Okay. Hold on. Okay, go. Over. Okay. Ah, okay. Whew. Okay. Sorry. Mommy duties. Listen, this how
That's
we tell people
okay.
they don't be telling you not to have kids this late because of your health. It's because of your patience. Because like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway. So right. So now I'm trying to remember. I can't even remember where I was talking, where we were at. Because kids.
You were saying that your
Oh
mom
my.
didn't get baptized until
Okay.
50,
Yeah.
but she had
So
questions too.
right. So when we were at the church and she was getting baptized, the whole family was there. And I couldn't understand why it was such a big deal. But it wasn't until my mama passed away that I found out that she only got baptized that one time and it was late. And I was like, ain't this something? So I questioned it. And then I'd go back to church and stuff like that. And I really wanted to feel like the Holy Spirit. And I wanted to feel something. You know what I'm saying? And I never did. You know what I mean? And I'd see other people and I'm like, why I'm not feeling this? So I remember one time in Georgia, girl, oh my God, I'll never forget it. We went to this little church. I was dating a guy. We went to the church down the street, and it was a woman pastor. And that's another difference for me because I was raised in a church where women didn't have leadership roles. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's another reason why my mama was, kind of looking at it sideways as well. So we up there and they want to pray for everybody and everything like that. So my boyfriend get up, I get up, and the lady like hugs me and I feel her trying to push me to the ground. Okay. And I'm like, so instinctively, I'm trying to keep my balance. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm dancing with her now because
Like,
I'm
so
not
you
going
can
to
fall?
so I can like fall out because my boyfriend and I already fell out. And
What?
honestly, I'm embarrassed, but I'm like, so he on the ground, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking and she's swaying me. And instinctively, my feet are shifting to keep me from going to the ground, and I'm like, oh, this is what you okay. So from there, I kind of was just like, it was I went just because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, you're supposed to go to church, let's go to church. So when I met my husband, he was in the church. He was playing drums at the church. He was in Houston. So when I would go see him, we would go to church. You know what I'm saying? And even then, the only way I could feel anything is with the music, but I still have to listen to the music before I got there. Well, I can feel something with all genres of music though. And so that's another thing I had to kind of explore. You know what I mean? Like certain R&B songs evoke emotions in me. Certain rap songs evoke emotion, you know what I'm saying? Just the same way as the gospel songs did. So it was when Dylan Roof shot up that church and the church came out and said, oh, we forgive him. And it didn't sit right in my husband's spirit, right? So then he starts doing his research. He starts researching. He's the nerd of the marriage. I learn better verbally. So, I can learn with the lectures and stuff like that, but he's the intellectual. We have books upon books upon books. And he like history. So he like history and facts. Upon his discovery, we're sharing together, and I finally can like breathe a breath of fresh air and say, hey, I always questioned this. You know what I'm saying? I always question it, but now I got somebody that's with me, that's questioning it with me, and we can both explore. So we actually did explore, but we both went different directions. So I went more into tarot, which my mother did read when I was a kid, but I didn't know nothing about it then. I was too young to know what she was doing. I went into tarot, I went into crystals, I went into that level of spirituality. My husband went a different direction. He went more into Gnostic studies and, astral projection and Akashic records. He went that way. But what we have is two types of information that we can bring back together and share and bounce off each other. So it's like, and from then we just kept going. So I can't remember the exact date that happened with Dylan Roof, but that would probably be a significant pinpoint when I started to intellectualize the questions that I had. And I was able to, one, open up to people, because definitely in my teachings, like tarot, that's the devil. You know what I'm saying? That's witchcraft. That's what we taught, not only that, but we taught not even to explore and understand, and even to engage with people who don't believe the way that we were taught. You know what I'm saying? And so now I was in a place where, oh, you question that, I question that. Let's see where this goes, And so my husband, like at first he wasn't really into crystals. Then when he got into crystals, he went haywire, so he just took off like a light. And, now we both at a place where we have so many, we don't carry them on our person as much anymore. We have, have them in pouches throughout the house and everything. But, with him, again, I'm visual, he's intellectual. So he got the definition of the crystal, why it does this and why it does that. Or me, I go in there, I pick one up, then I've learned why. You know what I'm saying? So I'm picking what draw me where he is, he's studying, and so with us learning different ways and doing it different ways, we still were coming, to the same type of conclusion. So it just took us to another level of just being, holistic healing, holistic information, and it kind of just skyrocketed. So, and it's definitely, that's the type of thing, it's continuous, it never stops. So we've seen David Banner speak. We've seen Umar Johnson speak. I know they be discrediting him, but some of the stuff he's talking about really do be right. You know what I'm saying? But that's what they do. They try to strip you of the credibility so people miss the message, because they have all these jokes, we've gone seen Brother Panic and Khadijah speak. So we definitely are invested in, definitely, we take it from that direction. Like we were watching a Panic lecture last night, so for us, it's just kind of tapping into what feels natural for me, definitely. So like tarot and that type of thing. But growing up, like I always kind of just knew stuff. Like, I have a friend now, I'll tell her something. She has it too. She has the gift too. She just, it's when you just speak it and you just know it, and ain't nothing told you, but something told you, you know what I mean? And so, and I've always had that to where people like, I tell stuff people didn't think was out, or so it's a secret, but it's not a secret, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it would be things like that even as a child, though, you know what I'm saying? So now that I'm an adult, I understand, so I have more discernment, and and I hold my tongue where I know when to speak, what to say, but like I've told people like, oh, that's not your baby, and I don't even know the girl, and end up that I mean, I'm right, you know what I'm saying, like off the rip. And so now that I know what it is, I test it. I make sure that like I play like it's like a TikTok video where they have a squishy ball and it's a color on the inside and you got to guess the color. And so I do that to try to just, keep that part of my mind stimulated to keep it working, you know what I'm saying? So now I know, how to feed the gifts, and, then we have an altar now, you know what I'm saying? We have our ancestral altar. We have, different deities that we study and like every girl in spirituality, I try to get with Oshun, and I am not connected. You know what I'm saying? And I told him, I was like, I don't feel any connection with her. I don't feel like I can relate to her or anything. And no, definitely no disrespect, but I was like, it seems like, women, that's one of our first things we're going to go Oshun and daughter of Oshun. I'm like, I'm not connected whatsoever. And I tried, but I was like, no, that's just not my steed. So I just kept it moving. You know what I mean? Like,
I get it, because
yeah,
I am a child of Oya, and I've never been on the Oshun wave. But
right.
not only because I'm a child of Oya, but I feel like everybody wants to be connected with Oshun because Oshun is what's popular. Like,
Right.
they like that's just what they see like mainstream. So
Yeah.
that's what they want to like flock to. Not
Right.
having a deep understanding of Oshun is a Venetian energy. She's an energy for women who have like a lot of Libra placements, a lot of Taurus placements,
Right.
people who may have like an affinity just for feminine energy and that soft side of femininity
Yeah.
overall. But that there's a lot of different factors that go into that. So if you're not studying under that pantheon,
Yeah.
then you need to be careful dedicating your energies to these certain deities,
Right.
because you're going to end up in spiritual contracts and traps that you did not ask for. And that's not to say that bad things are going to happen, because
Right.
sometimes things do come out of that. But
Right.
it's just, you might put yourself into a position that you didn't know you were putting yourself into, and leaving yourself vulnerable
Yeah.
for attack. And
Yeah.
that's the negative aspect of it. And
Yeah.
I feel like people just get so excited because spirituality is so trendy, and they want to do this and they want to do that. And they're like, oh, I feel called to this, I feel called to that. And then that's beautiful. That's how you learn. That's how you explore. That's how you grow. I'm not saying don't try stuff. I'm just saying, before you
Yeah.
just be doing stuff and dedicating time, energy, prayers, offerings to
Right.
energies outside of yourself,
Right.
no, do the research to know what you need to know. Like
Yes.
that's the bare minimum
Yeah.
that you can do.
Yeah.
Um, I always say that.
Yeah.
I just always say that because it's just so scary how many people are being misled.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh gosh. This
Listen,
is
I'm telling you, and I I was like, okay, also we went to New Orleans and we just had a real strong pull, the city got a real strong energy, and I
Mhm.
was, in love with the energy. But I also understand and respect that voodoo is you have to be ordained into that. You don't just, or an initiate, you don't just wake up and start. So absolutely, and it's usually passed down throughout the lineage. It's not an open practice. So as much as I had an interest, I still respected it from the distance of I don't have ties to this city, to this town, or to this religion. You know what I'm saying? I respect it. But I said that to say what drew me was hoodoo. And I'm like, oh, this is, and I really feel because I was in a Black church, a lot of the hoodoo stuff we did at church. And they don't realize that. Yeah. And And so
Yeah.
it'd be really funny when people, do saying certain things, and I know where it really comes from, but we don't. A lot of us haven't done that research to know. Like, even when people say, "Oh, they die in threes," that is not out the Bible. That is
Well,
that's something else.
when you were talking earlier about like your church experience, I just found it so crazy because like my mom has never been like a in the church type of person. Like she has her own relationship with God, but my
Right.
family, they're all religious. Like if they don't go to church every Sunday, they're going every other Sunday. And they've been going to the same church for years, and
Yeah.
they do their tithe, their offering,
Yep.
like it's ministers in the family, deacons, all of
Yep.
the things, the women heavily involved in the church, like all the things. But my mom has just never been that. Like
Right.
she's her own energy. It has always
Right.
been. So like if I wanted to go to church with my family members, I could, and I did, because I
Yeah.
used to like it. Like I
Yeah,
like
it was
singing.
fun. Yeah.
Yes. Um, but as I got older, my mama wasn't going, and I wasn't going to people's houses all the time because I wasn't like a little kid anymore.
Right.
So I wasn't really going, like, as a teenager, like to
Yeah.
church like that. But I'll never forget like this lady, her name was Tahiti. She was like a friend of one of my mom's friends, and she used to babysit me. So my mom would like send me with her. I had to be like maybe like 13, 12. And she was like, when I first met her, she was like a very free spirited type of lady.
Yeah.
But by this time, she had gotten with this guy, and they were going to this church. And it was like a little small church, like in a shopping center. Like you wouldn't even know it was a church if you
Yep.
just didn't know. You go in there, all the people are in there, they're praising, crying, falling out. Normally, I go to church and I'm just like you. I don't feel anything unless it's the music. The music is
Yeah.
what gets me usually
Absolutely.
going. Every once in a while, I can maybe count on one hand how many times a sermon I've felt that.
Right.
But most of the time, it's the music. This particular time, it was a woman pastor. She had on this all white outfit. I will never forget. She had like some sandy red type of hair in her head. She starts preaching. I don't remember what she was saying, but I just started getting emotional. Like, I don't even know why I started getting emotional, what was going on. And then the next thing I know, I was crying. And the next thing I know, people start walking up to the altar, and they're like summoning me, like, and I'm like, no. I'm like, no, I'm okay. So
Right.
I just stay there, but like the whole time while I'm there, I'm just like, I don't feel like myself. Like I just feel weird. I feel emotional. I feel shaky. We leave. I take a deep breath. I cannot stop thinking about this experience. So now I want to go back to this church. I want to go back to this church, and
Right.
I feel like I need to keep going to this church because I need this feeling, like this, whatever this is, it's
Yeah.
feeding me. I don't know what it is. I need
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
keep going to church with this lady. And I go maybe like 3 more times. So then by the third time, I'm like, this is a cult. I'm like, this is a cult. And I don't know why, but it's just something about the vibe in here that speaks to me, and I need to explore that. So then that's actually what started me on my spiritual journey. Like, because after that, I started researching cults, and then I started researching astrology, and then boom, and then boom, and then boom, and then boom, like
Right.
on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But if I would
Snowball.
have never went to that church with that lady, I probably would still be like, I probably would be somebody's little Christian wife, like in the church for real.
Yeah.
Because
Ups and
all of
mad.
the other church experiences that I had previous to that, of course, I questioned things with the Bible. Like I've just always
Yeah.
been like that. I read the Bible like
Yeah.
a book as a child. So I've always had questions, but I have Christian witches in my family. Like they won't
Right.
call themselves that, but the
Right.
way in which they practice Christianity, and like the way they cast out demons, and the way they call in certain spirits, and that exists in my family. So me learning how to do those things, like I could very
Right.
well exist under that system.
Yeah.
But going to this other church, I don't know, it just awakened like another something in me that made me be like, this is something else. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I was in like a transcendental something at that church. So then that made me be like, I don't get that when I go to normal church. So what is this? So
Yes.
then that put me on a whole nother track.
Yeah.
That's why when you're like, the church getting shot up was the catalyst to your journey, I'm like, that makes sense, because as someone with a Christian family, having like that Kojic church experience
Yeah.
and seeing like how really, I don't want to say this because I'm going to post this video, but I feel like people who are like Kojic Christians, who are a part of those small churches like that,
Yeah.
it's a church, and y'all definitely be summoning different type of entities that y'all do not know about
Yeah.
outside of Christ, for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Like, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Demonic entities
Yeah,
too.
I almost got recruited into a cult in college. That's why I was laughing, because it almost happened to me. It was just,
Girl.
I can't remember her name for nothing, but it was this black chick, and she kept inviting me to Bible study. But I'm really kind of like, I don't do well in social groups that I don't know nobody. You know what I'm saying? And back then it was even worse. Right, because I'm like, I don't even know y'all. Like, I know it was gonna make me nervous, and at the time I was a young mom and stuff like that, and I went to college in San Antonio. So I feel like she invited me to Bible study like maybe 3 or 4 times. And the one time I realized something was weird was I was sitting right next to her, and this couple comes up, a Hispanic couple, and they were like, clearly went to church together. And so she was like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And it was like, "Fine." And it was like, "How was your daughter?" She's like, "Oh, she'll be better. Once we get her back in the church, once we get her back to church, she'll be fine. We just need to get her back to church." So when they walk off, I realized they didn't acknowledge my presence at all. Not even in a cordial way. You know what I'm saying? Not even in a, "you're sitting with my friend, hi, how you doing" type of way. Like, that's just common courtesy. And I realized I'm not in the cult. They don't speak to me. So when she saw that I wasn't interested in going to Bible study, she never spoke to me again. She walked past me like we didn't know each other. She had been in my home. I had braided her hair. Like, I just can't remember her name because, like, I'm 40 now. But I braided her hair and everything. Like, I thought we was cool, because she never spoke to me again. Me and my mom did the research, and it was a cult out in San Antonio. And I was like, she tried to get me. She tried to catch me slipping. And it was one of those ones where, like, I think one of the bases was like, you tell all of your sins and they write them down. So then when you try to leave,
Oh, you're
they hold those against
freezing.
you. But I just can't remember. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that was a turning point too. Like, because you know church just one way, but then you discover church
Yeah.
different ways, and you're like, wait a minute. Because when I went to church, my auntie had them chocolate peanut butter cookies in the trunk at the church. We had some juice. It was a good time. You know what I'm saying? I done sang my song in my little cute dress. I done fell asleep. Like, okay, let's do this. It was fun. But then I started to see things started looking different, and so again, like with my husband, we started studying deities. We started understanding, he's just like, oh, their energy. So we starting to learn energy and transference of energy, and, just learning a lot of different things. And it just really just opened our minds. So, we've definitely gone to different places, met different people, that we might not have crossed paths with had we not opened up our door to spirituality that way. And it also, changes your opinion on people's lifestyles. You know what I'm saying? Like, where we come from, in the church, you ain't supposed to, man and woman, that's it, but spirituality teaches us that people are spirits, and their spirits are what could be connected, and spirits don't have that gender. So then once I'm like, oh, well, first of all, I really didn't care. I say this, I really did not care, but I don't care even more, because I more understand it on a different level. You know what I'm saying? And even that it makes you be a more open-minded person, a more accepting person, and just makes you like, I know people think like, oh, if you don't go to church, you're not going to be a good person. Or I've had people say, if you don't go to church, well, what keeps you from killing somebody? Why would I just kill somebody? Or like, why would I just dry kill people?
Said that to you?
Yeah, people be like, if you don't go to church, how do you have morals? What do you mean? because
Crazy.
I respect other people as humans. Like, I don't want to go to prison. Like, there's a multitude of reasons. I don't have enough hatred in my heart to kill somebody. Like, there's a multitude of reasons of why I'm not a murderer. It's not just because
Right.
I go to church on Sunday. Like, I've had
That
people,
is weird.
yeah. And then, how do you have morals if you don't? Everybody should have a moral code, regardless of what they do on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly. You know what? So this brings me into my next question, because I think it's very beautiful that you and David kind of went on this spiritual journey together. And I'm
yes,
sorry if I was say your husband's name,
that's fine. Oh,
but
he's fine.
everybody know your husband's name.
Girl, like, and then
Um,
he work outside, so people will pull up on him. Oh, you Liz's husband. He'd be like, it's like I'm a celebrity, but I'm not. It's so funny. And we can't go anywhere. Like, girl, he always talks about how I can't go nowhere without knowing somebody. And my mother was like that. But the worst time it ever happened, while we was in Las Vegas, and I stepped into one of our favorite kind of stores, and I knew the guy, and he was from Round Rock, and he was there for a bachelor party, and I knew him in Las Vegas. And my husband was just like, "See, this is what I'm talking about." And that's how it is. So everybody knows him, and he's so very quiet that it just be so funny when people are like, "Oh, ain't you Liz's husband?" But you had that lively one, you had that mellow one, and it just balances out. So he let me shine because he's just quiet. He laid back and chill. So yeah, you met him. So, and his energy come off is real safe. You know what I'm saying? And he not, you know what I'm saying? He just real calm. He has a very calming energy. So he helped, bring me down whenever sometimes I get up there. So it works out. But yeah, his name is fine. Girl, name drop.
his energy is super calming.
Yeah.
No, but so I think it's very beautiful that you and David decided to go on that journey together, because you were able to kind of come into spiritual awareness together. And I started my spiritual journey at a very young age. Like I said, I was 12 or 13 at the time when
Okay.
this happened.
Yeah.
And I was already struggling with my sexuality at that time. Like, I knew I was gay when I was watching White Men Can't Jump, and I could not stop looking at Rosie Perez titties in that one scene. That movie, I was born in 91. I want to say White Men Can't Jump came out like 95 or like 96. So I wasn't that, I wasn't that old yet, but I knew I liked it, So I was already struggling, and like in my mind, I would tell myself, because of my religious background, that like, no, I can't indulge in this. I have to figure out how I'm gonna like boys. But it was never my thing. So then going on that journey and learning about energy and figuring out like different spiritual paths and past lives and things of that nature, it really made me okay in my own sexuality. But then dating, because I was so young and also so aware, it was very difficult.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have that correlation. So how was it for you, like, coming into your goddesshood with your partner? Because I'm pretty sure when you and David first got together, you had, one view of yourself, wanted your life to look like, and kind of what your standards were.
Right.
Versus what that looks like for you now. And he was able to evolve with you on that, versus looking at you like, who do you think you are? You're a goddess. Right. So like, talk about that, because not everybody gets to experience that. I think that's very beautiful. So I want people to hear about it, one. But two, I want to speak to some of these girls who are young, they're 25, 27, on their spiritual journey. They're meeting these guys who also say they're on a spiritual journey, but they don't know what to really look for as far as that moral code, because your spiritual path is truly builds your moral code. So speak to that, because a lot of people are just a little, hazy.
So the first thing, You already know the first thing I'm gonna come for is this twin flame thing. I am so tired. Truth is, we tired. It's so because spirituality unfortunately is trending right now. Because like I said, I've been reading tarot for a long time, but I actually took a break. It was too much, too many different energies, too much. It was too much pressure, and I'm not gonna keep pulling about this man, sis. We're not gonna keep doing this. Okay. I'm tired. My car tired. We're not going to keep doing this to ourselves. And so the only thing that I see that's somewhat unfortunate with it being trendy is the whole twin flame aspect. So people are romanticizing toxicity based upon spirituality. Right. And so I'm just like, I tell people, will twin flames ever work? Girl, my answer would be no, period. And I just leave it. I don't even explain myself. If they ask and they seem open-minded, I will. But it's like, you're labeling him a twin flame, but he not that. He just trash or she just trash. Now it don't even really matter which direction it goes. It's not what you're saying. And so to me, when I want to explain twin flames to people on like an elementary level, I go back to that Will Smith movie, Hancock, when him and that girl was like both superheroes, but they came together and it was because they're not supposed to be together. They both powerful, not supposed to be together. You know what I'm saying? So that's the best definition I get. I was like, hey, you ever seen that movie? And if they have, they kind of can get it together, So for me, like I'm thankful that he understood too, because it made me feel more comfortable to be myself in it, and to figure it out and to figure out what I'm interested in. He was real supportive, we buy each other crystals, stuff like that, books, stuff like that. So, and then we just interested, so we just kept going down the rabbit holes and deeper. But for me, I was going to say, well, it's a canon event for these girls dealing with these men, because what they're doing is I'm spiritual. So then he's like, oh, what's your signs? What's your chart? And then they haven't had a journey, So I think for me, the first thing I would ask is therapy or shadow work. Have you done either of those? Are you currently doing either of those? Because a spiritual journey ain't nothing without no shadow work. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't taken the time to go back, because like me, that's why I'm bringing all this 90s. I'm healing my inner child, because something from the 90s has a hold on me, or really, I feel like that was a time where I was just so happy and carefree. I need to bring that back and own it now. So I tell people, buy that outfit, buy that candy, things that you wanted as a child, or things that are nostalgic, do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I asked my husband the other day, I said, we were going somewhere, and I said, we were at the Kinky Curly Curly Fest, and I had bought a chick had a pickle, some big pickles, girl. And I was like, I have got to buy a pickle. So I buy the pickle, I bite into it and just take me back, And I'm telling him, I was like, you just don't understand. Like, I'm at Jump On It. I'm at Givens right now. It's 99 and it's the freestyle contest. Like I'm there, like right in this moment, And so then I asked him, I was like, he's from Houston. Like I said, he went to Pleasant Grove. A lot of people familiar with that church. So I asked him, I said, what's the snack that you had after church? Just think, what did you have after you left Pleasant Grove? What was the snack that you had that take you back? And he was like, tea cakes, and I'm like, that's the type of work as adults we need to do. Like I've seen somebody post a double Dutch club. I'm going to try to join, because like, of course I want a double Dutch at my age, even though it's because we need to do that healing. We, when they say, oh, childlike, I think we need that. And we disregard it so much, but girls don't realize, like, that's what y'all doing with y'all coloring books, sis. That's what y'all doing with y'all makeup, sis. Y'all are healing your inner child, doing childlike things to heal you now as an adult. You know what I'm saying? And so I would just really, with these spiritual guys, shadow work or therapy, but because if not, it's probably a facade. We're exposing a lot of narcissists in this day and age. And I know people like, oh, everybody throw that word around. I don't think it's new. I think it's more recognizable on mainstream. I think people without doctorate and degrees can recognize a narcissist now. And I think that's why it is becoming more prevalent in conversation. There was a time people didn't know what that was. And then they're just being emotionally manipulated by someone and they have no idea, because it is very covert. You know what I'm saying? And then like the first time I don't know if I've ever dealt with a narcissist. Like I can't go through my mind like that, but it's a black guy on TikTok that is a narcissist. He's diagnosed, but he speaks from his perspective to educate people to look for the signs and to understand them. And some of the things he says are like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, people, man, the mind is capable of so many things, but if yours is weaker in comparison to the narcissist, then you're going to lose that battle every time. And so I really think, like, with me, I'm telling people, you know, that shadow work and just really pouring into yourself, giving yourself, you know, better discernment, you know, better, you know what I'm saying? It's really that discernment, man. Like, it was a guy a long time ago. He was a DL guy. He was on a DL. He wrote a book called The Invisible Life. And one thing I always heard him say, he said, the one thing women have over men is intuition. Right. And that right there stuck. I'm talking about I can't even remember when he said, it was early 2000s, but that stuck with me. That's something that we have. And more people need to focus and feed into that and use it to their discernment. You know, it's like, your intuition is telling you not to do things, you know, or, you know, another thing I like to tell young girls, when you're feeling butterflies in your stomach, that's anxiety, sis. Okay. That's a trauma response. Your body, whoever that person is, your body is responding from a place of trauma. So it's not love and light here. You need to really look for those red flags and figure out what's going on here. And that is another thing I never felt. You know, like with my husband, like, oh, my butterfly. He didn't give me butterflies in my stomach. He made me feel safe. You know what I'm saying? He make me feel like I can trust him. He make me feel like he, you know, will protect us and he got our best interest. Butterflies, no. Safety, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I tell people that butterfly feeling is anxiety and your body is warning you against this person's energy on a spiritual level. Because even if you're not in touch with spirituality, spirits still move. Spirits still move. Even if you don't see the signs, spirit is still active. You know what I'm saying? And so even in those who aren't fully aware of it, it still acts on their behalf. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I just tell people, man, that shadow work did it. I took a class with a girl. She called her Mama Odie is what we called her. And I did a whole course with her. That's when I stopped doing tarot to go through this course and study. And, you know, that's when I started doing shadow work, because I'm like, okay, this is, you know, because we self-taught. There's no class for this. There are classes for it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when it boils down to it, you got to figure it out at your own pace. We all start in different spots. You know, girl, it was a time that, you know, we get over into that sovereign part of the journey, right? When, I'm gonna be a sovereign citizen and this and that. And that was the very first time my husband and I clashed. That was the very first time that we were not on the same page together with that. He was definitely interested and I was not. And I'm not usually as resistant as I was, but I remember being absolutely resistant to that idea. And he was adamant about it. You know what I'm saying? And he a Pisces, Cancer rising. I'm a Cancer, Leo rising. So our rising signs are just battling it out. I'm saying you ain't gonna do it. He's saying I'm gonna prove to you I can, because that's what we doing here. And I remember for a while it was big, and then you get over that hump and you come down that hill and you continue your studies and you go on to the next, you know. And that's kind of what he did. And now when we talk about it, he's like, you know, I don't know why I was caught up in that. He's like, I'm glad I didn't go through it all the way, because when you really look at it from a legal standpoint, to be sovereign doesn't make sense, but to be sovereign and partake in America's economy doesn't make sense. So you need to be sovereign and off the grid. Then you can do that, but you can't be sovereign and go get a paycheck. That doesn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? So when we started, you know, and I'm like, I mean, he was adamant. I just didn't understand it. And I'm a type of person, like, if I don't understand it and you can't make it make sense, then I'm not going for it. I'm not going to come off of it. I'm going to hold on to this by the reins. And like I said, usually I'm not that resistant to him, because not just I'm gonna let my man lead, but he know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's very smart. So I do trust his judgment. But in this one, I just was not feeling it. You know what I'm saying? And so that would be the only time we ever had conflict on a journey. And that conflict lasted for a couple of months here until he was able to do further study on it. And, you know, we went over that hump or whatever. But that would be the only time we ever had that conflict. But like I said, for the young girls, man, just you're not self-healing is continuous, right? But you got to get to a place where you have either you not as toxic or you have the tools to not participate in your toxicity, right? Because I'm petty by nature, okay? Like, I'm gonna be petty. If that's what we're doing, then that's what we're gonna do. I have no problem doing that. But as I'm trying to work on myself and grow, you also got to pay attention to what you're giving your energy to. Who are you feeding it to? You know what I mean? And I got that a lot too. Like, I don't really do spell work like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might have put a couple people in a jar, you know what I mean? But I ain't big on it. That's not, I don't advocate, I don't advertise that. And the biggest thing is because people don't understand balance, right? So like,
About to talk about that, like
I'm not, it's
just
balance.
about to get on
Yeah.
that, like that's key. Like,
Yeah.
even what you were saying about narcissism, I do feel like a lot more people are becoming aware of what narcissism is and how it presents itself.
Yes.
I do also like the word is being misplaced
Absolutely.
more often than not. I
Yeah.
feel like people are just going to one extreme or the other. And even when
Yes.
you talk about the sovereign community and the
Yes.
Moorish community and like all
Yes.
these people who,
Israelite communities, the Hebrew Israelites.
yeah, they take the spiritual context of the path that they're studying
Yeah.
and start trying to live that in the
Yes.
human experience. That's not what your spiritual
Right.
journey is about.
Right.
Your spiritual journey is about understanding that you are a human having
Yeah.
a spiritual, you are a spirit having a human experience.
Absolutely.
So learn how to enjoy and
Yes.
evolve and manifest within your human experience. That's what it's about. If you're
Yeah.
not doing shadow work, and shadow work doesn't consist of getting rid of your shadows, it just
No.
consists of using them in a way that better works for you, learning how
Yeah.
to become aware so you can tone them down when you need to and be more
Absolutely.
aware of your truth and cut
Yeah.
certain people off so that you don't become a version of yourself that you don't want to see play out every day.
Yes.
So that's the beauty of shadow work. And when we talk about men doing shadow work, I feel like it's way more important than even women
Yes.
doing shadow work simply because men do not have intuition. Now,
No.
some men are intuitive and insightful, but they
Yes.
do not have pure intuition, meaning clear cognizance. They just feel it, they just know. They don't
Yeah.
have that.
No.
Their intuition that comes in sometimes is from experience and intellect.
Absolutely.
Those two are
Absolutely.
married together. So
Yes.
if they're not actively working out those shadows, they're gonna project negatively in relationships
Yes.
because relationships are where we grow. Relationships are where we project the most. So it only makes sense. So that balance is key because as much as we would all love to live in a perfect world where everything is nice, fluffy, and light
Yeah.
all the time,
Right.
it can't be. And if
No.
it could, it would have been a long time ago because who doesn't want that?
Right. Right.
That's just it against the laws of nature. At the end of the day, good
Yes.
and bad have to exist. Good and evil have to exist. Feminine and masculine have to
Yes.
exist. Up and down
Absolutely.
they have to exist. So once you learn to embrace that,
Yeah.
and you decide what good and bad is for you and your people,
Exactly. Exactly.
everything changes
Yes.
because then you know what code you're working with and walking under. And that's where the
Yes.
right thing is in. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people want to come spiritual and they're like, well, I'm embracing the dark and the light. And if I want to throw a bitch in a jar, then I'm gonna throw a bitch in a jar. If I want to hex a hoe, I'm gonna go ahead and hex a hoe. And it's like, do all of that, please. By all means, go for it.
Right.
But let's not sit here and pretend like there's not an energetic price to pay because there is.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that
Absolutely.
it's karma because she may feel like she ain't do shit.
Right.
But that energy, baby, is gonna be drained one
Yeah.
way or another.
Yeah.
Period.
And I told you, I said, listen, I'm not hexing like y'all, I'm not hexing, dude, because he was still messing with his baby mama and you mad. Like, that's not black, that's not balance. That doesn't make the world even. And I said, that's what it's about. I say, so, but I'll tell somebody before I do anything, we finna pull them cards, see what they say. Because people do lack a lot of accountability. People do lack responsibility. And people, I'm starting to see, I didn't realize we were in retrograde. It makes a lot more sense why people have been acting really crazy lately, but people are raging out. Right. And we're seeing it, and people are not managing their anger. Like the young man who got killed, hitting that lady. When I watched, I wanted to see the video, the interaction. She didn't escalate it to where he took things. Things could have easily not gone that level, but people are becoming consumed with rage. Right. And whether it's drug induced or not, I don't know what people do in a home with, what they're doing, but that rage, you can see it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can look at him, but around him, all I see is a red ball of rage. You just pure anger and hatred. And it's like that right there is shadow work. You've got to get down in your core of why you are so angry. You know what I mean? And so like with me, like when I did the shadow work, I was, she had us do a cute little thing where we named the shadows, you know what I'm saying? Named them, whatever, So I had Petty Patty, like, I would definitely go there. So people who've known me for a very long time, they'll say it like, oh, I respond from a different place. And they'd be like, I'm surprised you didn't cuss them out, or I'm surprised you didn't, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, that takes way more energy than what I'm willing to give people now that I understand how important energy is. And so the cost of giving it away for the wrong reasons is not worth it,? And so I see it like now, like people be, girl, I'm so laid back about things. I don't get all, worked up here and energetic about things. And really like, baby, I'm gonna block you and move on. I'm gonna ignore you and keep it moving. Like, that's the best lesson I have learned in self-care, is ignoring people and reclaiming your time and saying, you know what, this is my time and I'm not gonna give it to them. No is a end sentence. You know what I'm saying? No is a complete sentence, and that's it. So it's like that, man. I'm telling you, but like people, I'm able, but like, so I could tap into why I was petty. Well, mainly because I'm an only child. So, let's do this. Things are supposed to be my way. And when they're not, my reaction is to be petty. Now that I'm a grown ass woman with a husband and kids, I know how to manage that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna cap, me and him can get petty sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I definitely be like, that's what we doing. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then it'll still come up, but I also know how more to control it. I also know how to say, girl, not right now. You know what I'm saying? But in there are instances where, that's how I need to respond. I need to be petty in this moment. Come on, girl, let's go. Come on, you up front. You up next. You know what I mean? And that's the best lesson I learned, because the first thing people do, they try to erase the shadow. They try to, that's not who I am. Like, it is who you are, but use it to your advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't just dry ass be this person. Use it to your advantage. It's almost like having a multiple personality. That's the best way I can explain it. So when it's their time to drive, it's their time to drive. But when it's not, have them take a seat. Have them take a seat back, and they don't need to, come for every situation. That's really it. But yeah, that shadow work is, you've got to, because some people are angry. Some people do have, mother issues, father issues, sibling issues, whatever. People do, they be deep seated. And another thing I've learned being on the other side of it, people project so much, so bad. And I wasn't aware of that, because I am on a spiritual journey, but I'm in therapy too. So those things mixed together, I see the world from a different place. And I've told people, oh, you're really projecting right here. You should just get some therapy and walk away, because I can't do nothing with this. You're speaking completely from your experience and from your opinion or your emotional stance. You're not presenting any facts for your argument. And now things have become personal, because it is personal for you. And the thing, what all I'm saying is, I understand that this is personal for you, but it really shouldn't be. So you should speak with somebody about that, so you can better manage this in the future, because that's really what be on, man. People definitely dig in a bag of trauma and throw it at you, and all over across social media, people you don't even know, strangers. And I've been feeling like, now that I see it, I really have empathy for them, because I know that they don't even know how they come off. They really think that they're with anecdotal evidence, they really think that those are facts. And that's another thing I'm seeing. People are really misconstruing what a fact is, versus their emotional opinion or their personal experience. So that's another thing that, that doesn't help. But when it comes to that spirituality, man, I'm thankful me and him did the journey together. But if I had to do it solo, I would have done it, because it's important. You know what I'm saying? It is so important to, like, just to grow overall, you know what I'm saying, and mature. Because like I said, I was a young mom. So then that made me get stunted on an emotional level, right? My emotional development got stunted because now I'm a parent to someone at 17, 16, right? So there were times I would respond from that emotional stance as an adult. And that doesn't make sense to other adults who have been able to mature naturally, emotionally, right? But the shadow work helped me navigate that. The shadow work helped me mature and figure out, oh, okay, so that's why I respond this way versus this way, which would be a healthier way to respond, right? So I'm not even going to use the word mature. I'm going to use healthy, because maturity is relative, right? So it's a healthier way to respond to certain things. So it's like, oh, okay, this is how you really respond, because when I respond this way, I'm acting like a damn teenager. You know what I mean? But again, if you don't have a self-check or somebody to tell you that, then you don't know that. You think the way that you respond is correct. And that's also what shadow work taught me. Like, well, I can admit when I ain't right. I'm like, okay, well, no, I was wrong about that. And I noticed that's another thing people need to really dig into with shadow work is, why do y'all have such a problem admitting you were wrong?
Because
okay.
they don't want accountability. They don't want to seem like they're a bad person. But the thing is, just because you do something bad or you react inappropriately, that doesn't make you a bad person. You don't have to identify with those experiences. Yes. However, keep repeating that behavior and then other people start putting that label on you. Yes. That's your fault. You don't want that label, because you have to figure out how to manage and maintain that. And you're 100% right. It all definitely boils down to shadow work. I have a shadow work class that I do, and we definitely be naming shadows and redirecting energy and doing statements to affirm the positive aspects of those shadows and things of that nature, because that's important. You don't want to just completely shut that energy out, because it's going to it's like the movie Us. I always say that movie is about people not doing shadow work. How the shadow people came from underneath and just killed their ass. That's exactly what happens. And I mean, of course, I'm not going to literally come up and slash you like it was a slasher movie, but you're going to die internally trying to keep pushing that energy down. Your spirit is being crushed. Your soul is dying. So you can't do that.
When you die like that, your ego takes over. So now you just operate from a place of ego.
And then sometimes this is another thing. Your ego is meant to protect you. So sometimes you need to figure out how to evolve your ego to move differently, because you don't need to be protected in the same way that you once did. And that is an effective shadow work. So it's like, you got to figure out how to manage those things. Like me, I'm Leo moon, I'm a Leo Chiron, my midheaven is in Leo. I'm very much like a person who, I'm a Scorpio rising and I'm a Capricorn. So I don't like to be in front of people. I don't like talking to people. I don't want to be the center of attention or any of that. But when it comes to my relationships, y'all better make me feel the fuck special. I don't give a goddamn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how, baby, listen, I feel you, because I kept going back and forth with my birthday plans, and I was thinking, I was like having this big old party vision. I was like, wait, no, I'm gonna do something chill, but I'm gonna do 2 days, because bitches, you better show up. You know what I'm saying? I had some people show up on Saturday, some people showed up Sunday, and I felt very celebrated. So we good, but I don't need You know, I didn't need the bottle girls. I didn't need the sash and the tiara. Like, I don't need all that. But I just need the people that I F with, the F with me, to just come on and let's have a good time. So it was, and then it wasn't too many, and it was just enough. You know what I'm saying? So it was like the perfect turnout both times. But I feel you, because it's so funny, because like I said, he's the intellect. So he knew my chart before I knew my chart. He even studied my chart more than I had studied it myself. Okay. So he knows more. I feel like he knows more about me than I do about him. But in learning that chart, that also helped with our dynamic, because I hated Leos. I had an opinion about them. I was like, oh, I don't like no Leo. To find out that my Leo's rising, I was like, that makes absolutely so much sense. And so that's how I come off, because I am a Cancer, but I don't relate to all Cancers. And so I couldn't understand why. And, you know, I can be sensitive, but I'm not as sensitive as some too. And I'm just like, nah, like that ain't really my style, you know. But again, self-care, therapy and shadow work have me say, oh, you know what, as a Cancer, I am a sensitive person. Maybe I'm being sensitive right now. Or, you know, we are very easily offended, and we definitely take things very personal, right? So I know in my friend that's an Aries, when she be saying stuff, and I can be like, oh, I can say, you know what, she's not trying to be offensive. As a Cancer, I'm just offended. So I'm gonna just eat it right now, because I know that it's really me. I think that's why people really need to learn their charts, at least the top 3. If you ain't gonna go deep down into, you know, your houses and your litter, please just know your rising, your sun, and your moon, so you can figure yourself out.
Whole chart, and you need to know, because I'm telling you, it's so much deeper than your sun, moon, and rising. Like,
And
that's
then,
one of with your sun, moon, and rising, and how does it affect you? You kind of have already answered that. That's why I didn't ask. But people, if y'all don't hear anything else that I say, study your birth chart. If you're married, you need to study your spouse's birth chart as well. If you have children, you need to study
he
their
know
birth
all
chart.
of them, all the kids.
It's important. It
Yeah.
tells you a lot. It tells you almost everything, and not only just your birth chart as it is when it comes out, but you need to be paying attention to your transits. I always tell you guys that the way that the planets are moving has a certain effect on you in your birth chart. Certain things are hitting certain houses at one time. Like, I'm a Scorpio rising. If you also are a Scorpio rising and you're watching this video, I bet you Gemini season has been a whirlwind of emotions, ups and downs, upheaval, craziness, not necessarily misfortune, but just discomfort. And it's because it's 8th house for us. We're releasing right now. We shedding, we letting go of some old shit. We collecting some new spiritual inheritances and gifts. Yeah. So it's heavy. But if you didn't do that, you might think, I'm going through a depression, something bad about to happen. Like, that's why.
Oh, no, they going through a storm.
Girl.
I'm sorry. They're going through a storm, girl. What you mean?
Yes,
but you know what? When he studied it, like, but what was amazing about the charts, though, because he has helped me learn ours in depth, but they even discuss how you were raised. It pinpoints things in your past, your parents, and different life events in your past. And so, like, it predicted, he was telling me some of the things that they predicted. He was like, well, yeah, I really did, live like that, whatever. So, like, my problem is, like you said, attention span. So I have been diagnosed with ADHD. I'm not medicated because of the low level that I have. We're figure ways to organize and address it, right? But because of that, I have a tendency not to be able to be as comprehensive in reading charts and things like that. So I lose my interest in the chart. After a while, all of those, this and that, what I'm saying? Like, I lost my interest in the Bible once we started talking about who begat who. Once we kept begatting people, I was done. And that's just Deuteronomy. I know that's in the beginning of the Bible. So it helped with me to find a video and then learn about each, placements on that type of level. Say, oh, if you have a placement here, look. And so that I could learn it better hearing it verbally, where he is just reading the charts and reading. And so he picked it up that way. But me, I need to hear it in order for it to stick for me. So there are times where I would have him read it aloud for me, and then it would stick better than me reading it myself. But it's fascinating. So when people say astrology is not real, I just sit there, because it's fascinating when you really get in depth. Fascinating.
Astrology, I believe, the one true, like, religion and science. I believe that
Right.
wholeheartedly. I
Yeah.
feel like else stems from astrology. All the deities, all of the religions, all of everything. I feel like all of it stems from astrology, but that's just my theory. I
Girl,
can go on
even
a whole 10.
the
Go
staff,
ahead.
the picture on the hospitals with the thing with the snake over around it, that's
Girl,
spiritual.
it's everywhere. I'm
And
telling you, but
that's what we noticed. When we really got into spirituality, we noticed how it is everywhere. It is in symbols and all over, it's all over the place. You know what I mean? And for the hospitals, that's on the nurse's pen. That's on their pen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's mind-boggling. And people worship or don't worship or don't even understand some of these symbols, and they don't even know where they come from. Like, that is such an old symbol, and where it come from, it's just like, y'all should really look into it, because it's actually, like I said, it's fascinating to me. Like, I was like, oh, that. So a lot of some of the things that we do, laws and operations, are based on some spirituality things as well. And then again, when we really started studying spirituality, we started studying different religions. And then you get to age these religions, and you learn what predates what and who copied who, and how most religions have an origin story that is similar to the origin story of Jesus Christ. So once you kind of put all that together and you say, okay, this is kind of like people kind of believe in a savior across the board. So who's to say who's right or wrong? You know what I'm saying? And B.O.B. is one of our artists who says, he has a song about it. He's like, oh, my religion, pick me. This is the right one. He said, all of these religions, but mine is the right one. And it's just like, that also lets me be more accepting of what people believe. I remember back in the day, girl, I had a homegirl. She had a Quran in her trunk. I was like, why would you have that? Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Not so simple-minded. You know what I mean? And so now that I'm older, it makes sense. She was just like, oh, I'm interested in learning about other religions. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not a Muslim. You're not supposed to read the Quran. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh, that actually made a lot of sense. She was ahead of me during that time in, learning about religion, spirituality, so forth. So, again, like, it just opens doors for more information also, and like I said, and when my
There's always
husband, but people have to know that you will experience loss when it comes to a spiritual journey, right? So like, we lost friends, we've lost some connections, especially when you come up out of the church like that. You don't realize that people do sometimes put their religion above their friendships and their connections with other people. So and then you go through a slight depression with that, because you think that you have connections with these people, you think that you're close with these people, but then you realize that they don't respect what you choose to study, believe, or understand, or follow, what have you. So that's a part that I think people need to recognize too, because it makes, well, because like I said, yeah, he was going together, but he lost some friends. He stopped talking to some friends too. It put you in a place of feeling lonely and feeling like, man, is it worth it? But once you gain a certain level of understanding, you cannot go back. You cannot go back. You just can't. So
that's very true. It is very isolating.
okay, I'll get in just a minute.
I was definitely isolated a lot going through
Yeah,
my spirituality on my own. So I 100% agree with that. There's a lot of loss, a lot of grief
yeah,
that comes.
absolutely.
Um,
Also, you mourn the fact that you feel as if certain people in your life have lied to you, or have, what I'm saying, led you on to believe things that aren't necessarily true. You know what I mean? And that also came with it.
That's very true, especially for people who grew up heavily in the church. But because my mom is such a free spirit, I
Yes,
don't necessarily have that. I feel like my mama really kept it real with me. Like, she told me the real, for real.
yes,
But
yes, yes.
what I do, I will say, I feel like people are not who they say they are. Like, when you begin to see, you just begin to see people's true
Yes,
nature,
absolutely.
spiritual awakening, and then you
Yes.
start to see spirits on people that you didn't necessarily see before. And then you start to remember things that happened. And then you're like, and you try to convince me I was crazy.
Well,
Like
like I said,
that's
I tell people I'll consider myself the black sheep of the family, but I'm also the youngest of the generation. So I also feel like, there's just a disconnect there. My mother had me late at 35. So, I have cousins that are, knocking on 60, you know what I mean? So we do have a disconnect, but there was a period of time where I didn't go to church either. My mom she was a party auntie, you know what I'm saying? So she partying, turning up before she had me. So when she had me, she was kind of laid back, but she still wasn't just church, church, church. She would send me because that's where my family was. But I will never forget her reading tarot. And she, again, because of my memory issues, I still revert to my book, but mama did tarot without no book. You know what I'm saying? And I remember that, but I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was, but
tarot
it
is
seemed,
like to opening your intuition. So
yes,
it's good, like, read from a definitive perspective when you first
yes,
start.
yes,
But then once you start like working that muscle and you realize, because this is just going back to everything being symbolism. Once
yes,
your brain starts to recognize certain symbols and numbers and colors are associated with certain things, and then you see them, doesn't really matter what the picture is doing.
yes,
You just begin to just put that together without thinking about it. So
yeah,
then that translates into a message. And if you have a gift, it elevates that to a different
yes,
level, because that message then becomes a story and you can really tell somebody their story without even knowing them. That's essentially what tarot readers do. I think
yes,
it's beautiful, but I don't like that tarot. I don't like what the tarot community has become.
yeah. I don't like the public readings and the reading on live, and I don't
It's really
like
bad because
y'all. What are
I
y'all
don't
doing?
get to hustle, do what you do, if that's what you want. I'm not going to do that because my energy is just not, I can't. I've been doing this for too long that I can't, energetically, I can't handle that. I'm gonna be tired
Yeah,
and ran down all day. It's not
yes,
worth my time. But I just feel like people are playing on people's emotions and pulling
yes,
people's heartstrings and
yes,
using it like a pill,
yes,
like a symptom reliever, soother type of thing. I don't like that, because I'm coming in and I'm trying to present information to you from a healing perspective, so we can transform through this, we can move through this, we
yes,
can elevate, not so we can keep circling back, circling back, circling back, circling back, so you don't have to face reality. And I
yes,
don't like people are allowing the clients to think that that's okay and that's
yes,
what you come to read for. That's not it. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not
yes,
here to make you feel good and put a stamp
right,
on you and tell you you're gonna get married in 3 years and have a baby.
right, right.
Doing that. If you don't want the real, don't come to me and don't talk to me, because my mother ain't never flipped a card in her life, but she can look at you and tell you some shit about yourself.
Yep,
That you'll be like, what the fuck? How do
right,
you know that?
right, right.
And I used to be able to do it as a child, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then I'm an only child. I'm a Scorpio rising. I'm quiet. I don't fuck with people. So, bitch, if I hear a message about you, I ain't telling you shit. I'm just let the shit play out, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Now that I'm a full-time psychic and this is what I do, like, of course I'm more open with it. And like, I'll do collectives sometimes with certain
yeah,
astrological events, but
right,
I
yeah.
just don't.
I mean,
I
and I
don't.
understand like in a small space, but like when these people go live on TikTok and they be with the tarot cards, somebody asked me about them little sticks. I was like, girl, don't talk to me about that. I'm familiar. I've seen it, but I'm
But I just don't like how it's just a symptom reliever and a soother.
yeah.
Okay,
We had
I got two more
it's
questions for you.
2:40, so we good. It's 2:40,
Okay,
so
I
we
got two
good.
more. I'm
Okay.
gonna let you. I just at the time too. It's so funny that you just said that. um. Okay. First, let me just say this. As someone who struggles with my attention span, something that helped me deepening my study of astrology was picking an area of life that I'm struggling with and studying that part of astrology. So let's just say I'm
Gotcha.
trying to manifest a relationship. I'm going to study Venus. I'm going to study Mars. I'm going to study seventh house. I'm going to see
Gotcha.
what's transiting seventh house, that sort of thing. That's what I would recommend to you, because not only does it help you comprehend better, but it helps you to with the application. And if you're going to be gathering all this information and not applying it, then what's the purpose?
Right.
Okay. First question.
It's charging. It's charging. Here. I'm sorry.
How do you go about consistently protecting and cleansing yourself and your space?
So I like Palo Santo personally. I know a lot of people like sage. I have used sage and I'm familiar, but the Santo just gives me, I just like it. But hold on, just calm down. I just prefer that. Definitely, man. I take breaks. I definitely do. Sometimes I take breaks from people. You know what I mean? Especially because of what I do and how many people that I deal with on a regular basis. Like I said, with those tarot reading, I had to stop. It was a lot. Calm down. I'm giving you the computer. Can you please stop crying? Just take a deep breath and calm down. So she said, here, take it in there. Go take it in there so you can watch what you want to watch. So the biggest thing is I take a break, girl. I turn my phone on do not disturb. I turn my ringer off. I disengage. I detach. The biggest problem I was having with tarot, like you were saying, is it felt like people were trying to get me to warn them about anything in life. So they didn't want to do life without any preparation. And I used to tell people, and they were like, "Oh, can I get a reading every week?" Some people I'll be like, "No, you don't need another
No.
reading. You don't need a reading every week. You don't need a reading every month sometimes. It just stop. I'm not going to protect you from real life happening. Real life is going to happen regardless. All I can do is say, oh, the Tower card don't tell me exactly what's happening. It's going to tell me something going to happen. I don't know what that is. I was like, it'll tell, it's going to tell me something's going to happen, but I can't tell you exactly what it is, but prepare yourself. You know what I'm saying? So like I've given readings, people double back. They'd be like, girl, thank you. Because if you hadn't prepared me, I would have reacted negatively, but I still didn't know exactly what I'm preparing them for. You know what I mean? And so, but when I did see people abuse it, you know what I'm saying? Pretty much, I would be like, no, I'm not giving you no reading today. Or I would just not take their message that day or whatever, because now it's becoming an addiction and anything can be addicting. You know what I mean? And I picked that up. And so that energy, I'm like, nah, this is too much. And also you become dependent. So now you're not even moving through your life regularly without you getting a reading first. You're not going to make any moves unless you're going to get a reading on it. And that's not how spirit works. That's not how spirit move either. And sometimes spirit don't move in real time. Sometimes it's telling me about something happened in the past. Sometimes it's telling me about something in the future. Sometimes it's telling me about the right damn now, so I cannot continue to try to prepare you. You've got to be able to, you know what I'm saying, you just got to live, man. You got to stop living in fear and live in a place of abundance. You know what I mean? So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, last question.
Okay.
How would you say that you avoid unidentified energy vampires? And is there any advice that you would give for conserving your energy in doing your own personal spiritual work, but also facilitating healing for other people?
So I have been caught with spiritual vampires before because of the level of empathy that I have. And so one time it was, I don't really want to say any details about this situation, but it was a whirlwind, and I'm telling my husband, I'm like, this is like, I was getting stressed out. You would have thought that I was an active participant in the situation. And when it all boiled down to it and everything had settled, I was exhausted. You know what I mean? And I was like, it comes to where like you start to realize, you're able to discern that people don't always need help. They want attention sometimes. And that's the
it. I say that all the time.
That's the main thing that I had to start to figure out with people, because like I also had the tendency to make people comfortable enough to open up and share things they might not normally share. But I also recognize that, oh, you don't want my help here. You just want my attention. You just want to tell somebody about this. And so I've learned how to detach emotionally and take it just face value, allow someone to sit and speak and not And I'm not soaking in anything that they giving. You know what I mean? I won't take it on. I won't soak it in, and I'll just completely let it be what they have to share. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing. You gotta be able to pull up that barrier, just an invisible barrier of, I refuse to allow myself to engage in this emotional in depth. I did that with the submarine thing. It's not as if I don't have any empathy for people, but I told myself I refuse to allow myself to get emotionally attached to the situation. No, I don't know them, and I didn't have to know them to be empathetic, but I knew that it was a form of emotional manipulation that they're trying to use here, and I refused to engage. I'm going to say it's going to sound brass, but people die every day. Okay. So, and I also had to come to that, and I refused to allow myself to get emotion caught up with that. And I said it on Facebook. I said, y'all do this every time. Y'all allow them to emotionally manipulate y'all, where y'all mad at people, in real life for not having sympathy for people we don't know at all. I can't name them people right now, and I've read the article more than once. Okay. But y'all mad at people, for real, in real life, tangible people. You're being emotionally manipulated. And once but I knew that in college. That college professor told me the media is designed to instill fear. So I look at the media from a different perspective anyway, right? But I also know they use it to emotionally manipulate people on a higher level. When you are emotional, you are not logical. You cannot operate in both energies. So if all of us are emitting all of this emotional empathy for people that we don't know, we're not operating from a place of logic, and we're all pumping that energy out into the universe, and the universe is soaking it up. And that is not necessarily what it needs. And people don't understand that. So maybe I'll turn it off. I say, you know what? I'm not going to engage in this. And that'll be it. I do that, girl. But I'm moderating that hair group. That's a whole nother conversation. Them women be up in arms. And I just, I'm not going to engage. Girl, I'll leave somebody on red in 5 seconds. You hear me? I'm not going to attach my energy to this. And it just put me in a better place. But like with my tarot, like I've told people, somebody wanted a reading. I had something going on. I can't remember. It just was a stressful time for me, and I've told them, oh, I can't give you a reading right now. My energy is off. So I'm not even sure that your reading is going to be accurate because my energy is not where it needs to be. So I've done that too. I've turned down readings. I haven't been to a lot of events like that, but I've definitely turned down readings because I'm not leveled and balanced right now. You know what I mean? And so then I like to ground myself. Outside is my sanctuary. I love to go just sit outside. I sit on my back porch. The African American urge to open the front door. I open the front door for no reason. Step outside and just look around and just, get some fresh air, get some sunlight. That's really how I balance it and just kind of release. Breathing, meditation. I was one of the ones who couldn't meditate because my mind is constantly going. I thought I couldn't meditate, but you do not have to meditate in silence. And once I learned that, it put me in a, different, better practices in meditation, just to come back, call my energy back to myself. You know what I'm saying? I need to get all of that back. I need all of it that I let y'all use, and y'all keep it moving. But I did get caught up. I've gotten caught up, once or twice with an emotional vampire. And I'll just be like, you know what? I didn't even see this coming, but I see what's going on, or I did see it. And then the empathetic part of me is like, but they might need you. You know what I'm saying? And so then that's really where I get caught up in trying to be there for people when I feel as if, in my opinion, our relationship isn't close enough for you to come to me. So I must be the only person that you have. That's how I was seeing it. But that really wasn't the case. They were just, they just wanted to suck my energy up. And now that I see that, I'm very cautious on who I let in, how close I allow them. So that's the best part, man. Like, I'm not everybody's friend. You know what I mean? And the first thing I tell somebody, like, oh, that's not my friend. She don't even have my phone number. He don't even have my phone number. And my number is pretty public. So like, if you can't reach me on my phone, then you definitely not my friend. Then it's going to escalate. Have you been to my home? Because cancers, we will invite you in our home, but that's a big deal for us. So we definitely, if I open my door to you, you close to me. You know what I'm saying? So if that hasn't happened either, bro, we're not friends, and that's the biggest thing. I tell people, like, stop thinking everyone is your friend. You've got to be careful about who you consider a friend and put a definition on that. Put a standard on your friendship. So you're not just accepting friendship from any direction, because these people got hidden agendas, man. and you don't, like my mom, you know, I'm seeing a trend now where I was one of the girls that was raised by a mom who told me, oh, they just jealous of you. Now, I do think that that is true at times, but at the same time, sometimes it's a toxic mentality, right? Because sometimes it could be me. It could be the energy I'm putting off. And then I'll be like, oh, they just jealous. You know what I'm saying? So then I'm lacking accountability because I'm like, oh, you just jealous. So I also had to figure those two things out and be like, okay, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I ain't got nothing going on. And they be jealous as a motherfucker. Okay. And then you be like, oh,
It's not your light. That's all it
yes,
is. Just
yeah.
people just literally jealous of your light, your aura,
Or
your
they jealous
energy,
or how other
affect
people like you.
people, how they treat you.
Yes.
It's just it's so unfortunate, but some people just they really do have that. But I'm glad you said that because that goes into perfect alignment with your postcard from spirit because you was talking a lot about pulling back your energy and knowing when to cut people off. And I know as a Cancer, that is very difficult because you guys
Yes.
are very nurturing. You never want to
Yes.
abandon anybody or
Right.
even really cut ties with people unless they really, really cross you. So for
Yeah.
you to actively say, I'm pulling back my energy from where it's not being mistreated, where it's being misused, where it's unappreciated, I'm sure
Yeah.
that takes a lot for you. So, thank you again for doing
Yes.
this
Yes.
interview.
I'm so glad you asked me.
Of course. We talked a whole lot about tarot. We talked a whole lot about relationships and
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
starting out your spiritual journey. So, you guys, if those are your main points of concern, this is definitely the interview to watch.
Absolutely.
But here goes your postcard from spirit. Oh, you can find her at Miss Lizz The Stylist on Instagram,
Instagram,
at
that's my handle on everything. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
TikTok,
TikTok,
Twitter,
Miss Liz the
Miss
Stylist.
Lizz, right?
Yeah.
MIZZ.
Yes.
Miss Stylist. Don't ask her to do no readings right now. She is on hiatus. Okay.
Listen.
If you want a reading, follow her on Facebook and she will post when she's ready to do readings. Okay. All right. Your postcard from spirit says, dearest you, sometimes it's wonderful to give, but there are times you might find yourself over giving. Now might be a good time to check in and see where you may be cutting off the flow of abundance. Let others give to you, even if you are more comfortable being generous and the giver, the healer, the rescuer. In the art of living, we sometimes overlook an important skill, receiving gracefully and with gratitude, without diminishing yourself or trying to deny vulnerability, or bringing in an agenda of equality to it. Receiving is hard for some people, maybe you. You do not need a this or that in your exchange with others. You are doing good in the world. Let the world give back and support you. Then you can give up the old stories that have you convinced that you have to do everything alone with no help. Let your well be filled. We all love you so, so much. Girl,
That's the one right there, boy. That's it right there.
girl, that's
That's it
it.
right
I
there.
felt that.
Because
I
I
felt
do. I always feel like it's got to be an exchange. And it's just like, Liz, just people, yeah, like when you asked me for the interview, I was like, oh, I saw you post about it. And I didn't, I went about my business. When you asked, I was like, oh, she asked, I'm so excited. You know what I mean? Because you never know who's watching you and seeing how you move. You know what I'm saying? And I try to project as, like I tell people, I don't know how I come off online. I try to come off cool, but I know, like, my mean girl is in my back pocket. You know what I mean? So let's just keep it copacetic. I'm here. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Let's just have a good time. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how, especially with my spiritual journey, how I've started to approach life, and then with losing my mother, that to step me into my therapy journey. So those things together have just transformed me, you know what I'm saying? Just emotionally, like on my energy, everything, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I feel the growth, but when other people recognize the growth, it just reinforces it. You know what I mean? So that's super exciting. Yeah. That was it though. I just listen. Right after my birthday, my birthday was yesterday. This is perfect.
Yes.
Yes,
Make
ma'am.
sure y'all birthday. I definitely am always watching you and rooting for you from afar. You do so
Absolutely.
much great for the community. I don't really fuck with the Austin Black community. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
you are one of the people who I have a lot of respect and admiration for. I feel like they're just all kind of like fake, honestly.
Yeah, my
But
mama
that's
said
another.
Austin would have more if people weren't worried about whose name was going to be on it. And that's the
Yes.
problem. It's this hidden competition that people have instead of the coming together. And so I just, then I just keep it moving, man. The people that I
Mhm.
keep in my circle, we all on the same thing. We all, kind of are on the same journey of spirituality, understanding, and open-minded. So like them, the type of people that I keep in my circle and keep close to me. And the rest is for them to figure their journey out. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as you should, but definitely, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me. So I know you got a client.
Yeah, girl, she'll be here in a minute. She'll be here. It's fine.
But definitely, if you guys don't do anything else, just follow her. She be posting gems. She randomly posts when she's doing readings. Her hair skills are fire. I told y'all that in the beginning. But more than anything, what I admire about you the most, Liz, is I feel like you bring this kind of like the Mary J. Blige effect to the spiritual community. It's just like this real raw, like
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
my pain and like I'm gonna let you see it because I'm not afraid of it, but at the same
Right.
time, you're not play with me.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
that type of energy. I don't know.
I
Maybe because that's how
love
mama is.
it.
Like a very like I will cry at the drop of the hat, but I will also
Yeah.
beat your ass type of
While I'm
person.
crying. While I'm crying, I'm gonna beat you up.
Like, I don't
Literally.
know. I
Yeah.
really fuck with that. So
Yeah.
like just noticing that energy in you and then just seeing how you maneuver, it screams balance. It
Yeah.
screams black. It screams
Yes.
love. It screams like Black Madonna, goddess, nurturing. And
Yeah.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Yes.
So
I love that. I like the Black
it's
Madonna.
always
I like that.
it's
Yeah.
just always beautiful when we are building certain energies up within ourselves and then other
Yeah.
people start to see that in us.
Yeah.
So if nobody else has told you and given you your flowers, girl, I am
Thank
giving them
you.
to you today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
And I will send you a photo of this just so you can
Okay.
have it to read back to yourself later.
Absolutely.
I probably will post this not this coming Thursday, but the following Thursday.
Okay.
Because I post the interview from last week.
Okay.
But I will definitely tag you. Do you
Okay.
have a YouTube channel?
I don't. Well, you know what? I do, but I don't post on it. So I just have a YouTube account. So I don't have a channel. I have never. Yeah.
Just send me your channel so I
Okay.
can tag video when I post it so you can
Okay.
share it or do whatever you want to do
Okay.
with it.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.